We're back, and you're talking to Mr. Legendary. Goddamn, do I miss having music? But the copyright police will not let me be great, but I got something coming up the sleeve. I've been researching, I've been figuring out how we can get this intro popping. I just need to stop being cheap, to be honest. But to be frankly honest, y'all need to go ahead and keep donating. If y'all miss me having an intro, I'm gonna go ahead and put the Cash App, the Venmo, the PayPal. I'm gonna drop all my links so that y'all can continue donating, continue contributing to the channel, help us grow, help a broke man go ahead and get that intro back popping. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to the video now. I'm going to try to get back to it later. Not sure I will, but I'm going to just keep talking. Go ahead and give y'all that content that y'all are here to hear. Today's show, we are going to talk about submission. I was actually sent this video, and somebody was just randomly asking me, do I listen to the Real Relationship podcast? Have I ever listened to them? And I say, yeah, I've listened to them a few times before because I'm always listening to everything. I am a true fan of podcasts. I'm a true fan of listening to people talk about relationships. So outside of me just speaking, I like to listen. I literally listen to people talk all day. So sometimes my critiques aren't just going to come from me just being some famous podcaster. No, I don't think I'm that. But I am a good listener, and I know what I like to listen to. And in this show, I had a lot of things that I probably have to critique on because, like I said, I love listening to podcasts and listening to advice. This one in particular was speaking about submission in marriage. They're actually going to ask a question now, and we're just going to go ahead and start playing this because this is a really long video, and we're going to have to get through the whole thing. They're going to get real talkative at some points. We're going to try our best to get through it. I'm going to try my best not to fast forward because it was a lot of parts I needed to break down in the things that they said because they give relationship advice as a married couple. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start listening to this. I'm going to make myself bigger so that y'all can see my good looking face. Put myself up top, and let's go ahead and start playing that now.
That will help take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, today's topic, drum roll please. Should wives submit to their husbands? Why you make that face?
Before they go ahead and get into that, I just want to go ahead and answer the question. Whenever I have questions, I try my best to get to the question, and then we're going to get to the video or background or whatever else we need to talk about. Should wives submit to their husband? I watched this video a couple times, and it was tough listening to them because they got to talking all over the place. Like I said, I'm a fan of listening to people podcasts, and this one wasn't good because I don't remember them specifically answering the question. If they did, they might have talked over it or talked through it to the point to where I didn't hear their direct answer. Should wives submit to husbands? This is tough because naturally, if you're married, you should submit. It's literally in your vows. But I will say with this new age modern system, I'm becoming more modern to just making things work, even in the olden times. So a lot of people like to bring up the 1950s, 1960s, how things were back in the day. And I remember a time where our grandfathers and grandmothers were coming up, and as they got older, we started burying family members. We started hearing more and more as kids growing up about our grandpas, uncles, all of them. We started hearing more about their lives and the things that they did and how they made things work. And a lot of the fairy tales that we were told about our past generations, our older folks, was that, everything was good. Grandpa married grandma. They lived forever, happily for 50 years together. What we didn't hear was grandpa had a whole nother family on the side. Grandpa had 5 other kids on grandma. But grandma stayed and grandma made it work. I think making it work is a really big thing that I don't think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on, because making it work is really heavy. And this ties back to the submission, because I watched their video. I don't believe his wife fully submitted to him, which is her husband, but they made it work. Do I believe submission is required in order to make a marriage work? No, I don't. I believe, especially in this time and age, that there are men that want this equal partnership where they, kind of submit to each other, where he leans on the female as much as the female leans on him. So, do I believe submission is required? To a degree. Should women submit to men? Of course they should. Do they? That's a story for the day. But let's go ahead and let them finish talking.
So, my question for you, Asha, to start this conversation off, when was the first time you heard about submission when it referred to marriage? Was you taught that when you was a kid?
No. I wasn't taught anything.
I would have loved for her to speak on how
anything. I don't think I ever even had a conversation about submission.
Right.
Especially as like a wife and the role of submitting to your husband ever in life.
Right.
The first time I actually heard of it, which is very, very odd, probably ironic, was when we were getting married and I was at the altar, and Miss Deb, our officiant, mentioned it when she was, going over. We were reading our vows, and she said something about submitting. And the context of her saying that, because I'm such a strong-minded woman, individual, it was just like hearing the word submit to your husband, even though I know, like, okay, I'm giving my all to this person, I'm becoming one with this person, just that word alone, I literally, and I don't know if we want to interject it.
I'm going to put the video, I think we have it recorded, I'm going to put the video in this podcast. Yeah.
I think it was a bigger issue that she didn't hear about it before marriage. That is huge, especially coming from people who say that they're Christians. I don't understand how you even got to the process of marriage, like literally ring, wedding, we're all the way here, and this is my first time learning that a woman is supposed to submit to their husband. I think that's a bigger, way more bigger issue than what they probably are letting on to be, because I don't see why y'all was getting married in the first place and didn't even know like what marriage, what submission was. Y'all didn't understand how what marriage was if y'all didn't understand what submission was.
Yes. Somewhere so y'all can actually see her reaction.
Like, I literally was like frozen for a little bit. It's like my mind, and I don't even think it was intentional, but my mind was processing it. Like, it was like from her mouth to my ears to my brain, and it just stuck. Like, submit. What? Like, I'm sitting there like, what exactly? And I probably wanted to be like, what do you mean by submit? Can you clarify? But it wasn't the right time to give that the response. So I was just sitting there processing it, and then it was just like, okay, I'm going to submit. Yeah,
it was crazy, because I saw you freeze. I know you, and I saw the look on your face. You were like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And she had to repeat it like 3 times, I think it was, where she was like, say, I will submit to my husband. Right. And you was just had this blank stare like, what are you talking about? And, ironically enough, that was the first time I heard about submission. So when she said it kind of caught me off guard, because I'm like, submit? Like, what you mean submit?
Right.
Like, in my mind, submit means something totally different than a biblical aspect.
So
right?
what she was talking about. Means in your mind?
To me, I think that most people, I think the misconception about submitting for most women is
that's not what she. Yeah.
They feel like they're less than their husband. When I don't feel like that. That's what submission means.
Okay, what does it mean?
So is that what you thought in that moment? Like, in that moment, what did you think?
Oh, in that moment?
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it meant like you just follow everything I tell you to do.
Right.
That's what I thought, which is why I was confused, because nobody ever taught me about submission in a relationship. So when I heard that, I was like, what?
Yeah, I think that's probably why I was like so taken back by it, because it was like, just processing submit, and it's just like, okay, what exactly do you mean by that? Like, I'm supposed to do exactly what this man says when he says it, how he says it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
that's how I
supposed
took
to
it.
submit to you. Like, okay,
I'm not gonna get too much into critiquing her on the whole submit thing because I would need to know her background before I can critique her. I hate those shows. Again, this is me critiquing me as a fan, critiquing listening to podcasts. I hate the shows that will automatically hear what she said and automatically run with, oh, she must have been raised in a single parent household. Oh, her mom must have never told her that. I'm not gonna ever give y'all that because I want to know facts before I get to speak it on somebody. I want to know exactly who she was raised by. If she was raised by married, single father, single mama. I want to know who didn't give her the idea of submission before I get to talking about it. So you'll never hear me do that.
am your servant. Like, I'm here to serve you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
But
just
somebody
not
dropped the
having
ball.
the clarification of what that looks like as the role of being a wife and submitting to your husband was kind of like,
Yeah.
making me a little bit hesitant and like shocking, the shock factor to it.
And it's crazy. What's also crazy about that moment, and then we're gonna go and we're gonna dive in deep about what our thoughts are about submission now that we have a better understanding. But now that we have, done the work in order to learn what it means to submit, I think the only problem during that moment when she told you that you're supposed to submit to your husband is that she didn't tell me that I'm also supposed to submit to God.
Okay.
Which would then cause an issue. Because I feel like this has been an issue in society.
I don't think that caused an issue. I remember when I first heard this, and I was wondering how I was gonna explain what he just said because I have a problem with it. I don't think that it needs to be said because the whole point of marriage is making a vow to God that we're gonna do the things that we're supposed to do. So in the vowing to God, we are both submitting to God. And he's going to get in a little more detail. I don't fully disagree, but I just disagree that that part had to be said. I don't think it needs to be said that the man has to submit to God. I think that's literally the whole point of being married in a church and having vows before a pastor because we're making a vow before God. So when we're making that vow, we are submitting to God.
Society periods where we're always trying to prepare the woman to be a wife, but we're not preparing men to be a husband.
Come on with the word.
Like, I think it's unfair to just tell the woman her responsibilities as a wife, especially at our ceremony, but then not tell me what my responsibilities are as a husband.
Right.
And now that we have a better understanding from a biblical standpoint of what it means to submit, a man is also supposed to submit to God so that he's always walking in the presence of God.
I hate when people speak about fairness because y'all didn't have to get married. Y'all didn't have to do this. So I don't understand how you could say that it's unfair to not speak on the man's responsibilities when the whole point in getting married was because we both agreed that I'm ready to get married, you're ready to get married. And this is before you get married to anybody, y'all should be having talks, y'all should be having counseling, y'all should know what marriage is, y'all should know what my role is, what her role is, and how we become a team and how we're gonna make this marriage work. Not when we get up here and get to the vows, I don't think it's fair that you told her and you didn't tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. Figure it the fuck out. This is what we have to do as men. We supposed to know. This is why a lot of these spaces don't speak on men's aspects because a lot of men already know what our requirements are. We're always told as men what we have to do and what it takes to be in a relationship, what it takes to be a leader, what it takes to maintain a relationship. We're always being told what you need to do, how you need to get women, what you need to do this. I don't like the fact that he says some of the things that he says because it comes off really, 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 really passive. And it's kind of, we'll get to it. Let him keep talking.
So that when a woman submits to her husband, she can feel confident that he is going to lead her down the right path.
Yeah.
Because he is being led by God.
Right.
And because that wasn't explained, we struggled with that. You struggled with that.
Right.
And I think that's what happens with most women.
Yeah, I think that what you said is really important, even in the sense of submitting to God, because I understand like a lot of people are at different walks in their faith journey, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like just knowing that you as a man are you're laying your foundation, right?
Yeah.
And at the core of that foundation is your faith. I think that's really important because a lot of times, you know, you go into the marriage and you don't really have, some people don't have that stable foundation. They don't have that guidance. They don't have that spiritual connection. So they may feel like a lot of things are shaky or uncertain or rocky. They may be looking at their husband and he's not, you know, doing the things necessarily that they feel like a husband should be doing, right? Maybe he is not, you know, being husband-like. Maybe he is out.
They get to ranting and they get to talking. He's not being husband-like. I don't. So again, we have duties and we have roles to play in marriages and in relationships in general. We've gotten away from I need you to survive, or I need you to make sure you take care of the kids while I take care of the household. We've gotten so far away from having these mandatory duties in order to raise kids, in order to survive, in order to live, that we start being worried about, oh, I want to make sure in a marriage that I'm happy. I want to make sure in a marriage that I'm in love. And we forget that those things can come naturally as long as we get the things that we need. We don't need to be happy. It's great to be married to somebody that makes you happy. But at the same time, marriage back in the day was essential for survivability. We used to do this so that we can make the village work, so that we can raise the kids, so that we can have families, so that we can have communities. It was a necessity to get married, to raise families. It wasn't so much about happiness. This is why the older generations got along and survived for so many years and made things work irregardless of what daddy did on the side or granddaddy did on the side, because we knew that we had a bigger cause. We knew we had to raise these kids. We knew we had to make this family work, and we knew it was a bigger picture. And we've gotten so far away from that to where we start worrying about things like, well, was the husband doing the things that the husband was supposed to do? The husband has a role to protect the family, make sure the family is fed, make sure the family is protected, make sure the family has a roof over their head. All of this, does he make me happy? Is he emotionally there? Does he support my dreams? I hate it. And I was having this talk about this whole submission thing and the roles of men. And we got past the money and the protector and the provider, and it went over to, but I was talking to a female about it, and she said, but there's so much more. What about the other stuff? What about the emotional? What about the being mentally there? And I said, ma'am, man can't be Superman. Females want so much from men that is starting to get really ridiculous and just outrageous on the expectations of what it takes to be a husband and what it takes to be a man. And this is why we can't speak on the things that make a husband, because to women, the list will go on and on forever. When in reality, women have needs. A lot of women need men to survive, and a lot of women need men. This is why they want to get married, because they want the providers. They want the resources from men. And we just bypass these things because we're so worried about happiness. Let me stop talking because we gotta get long.
Here, still doing whatever he wants to do, even though he's married. You know, living a certain lifestyle, or even if he's not living a certain lifestyle, he's not respecting you and the household. Like, y'all are not on the same page. Y'all are not communicating. Things are just not being done appropriate as it should be in your relationship.
Right.
So just the idea of you submitting to this individual who you married and you know you're supposed to be doing that to, is just like, okay, well, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
Because we're not even on the same accord. Like, I'm not getting the respect that I feel like I should be getting out of this relationship.
They use the word feel a lot in this video. They're always talking about how they feel. How'd you make me feel? How did I feel? Did he live up to his vows? Did he protect and provide? Was he making sure the house was taken care of? All of this extra stuff, it starts to mess up a lot of marriages, because a lot of people think that they need these things now. A lot of people think that I need to be happy in order for a marriage to work, and that's not what marriage is about. That's not why marriage was put into place. And it's quite frankly why the divorce rate is through the roof now, because everybody's worried about being happy versus making sure a family is taken care of.
As a wife, but I'm supposed to submit to this man who, is supposed to honor me as I honor him. And I think that's hard for a lot of individuals. So I think it's very important that you said.
False. We already just discussed that, where he said that a woman needs to submit to her husband and a husband needs to submit to God. So the husband needs to be honoring and living up to God, not living up to his wife. This is based off of what they just said. Forget what I think. Forget what they think. This is what they just said according to the Bible. A husband is supposed to submit to God. The woman is supposed to submit to the God of the husband, and the kids, are supposed to follow. It's this train. They're supposed to keep following each other. Where we get messed up is that people want to backtrack and they want the husband to also submit to the wife as well. And that's not even in the Bible. That goes against everything that you just said.
You submitting to God and understanding your role as a husband and taking that role very seriously.
His role as a husband is to do what? Is to submit to God, not to submit to the woman. My role as a husband is to make sure that you're taken care of, not to make sure that you're happy. Those are two separate things.
And walking and presenting yourself in a certain light to be the best version of yourself, so that your wife follows suit, right?
Yeah.
Because y'all, I feel like, are a reflection of each other.
No.
So I think that's really important that you said that.
And you said something earlier that caught my attention. And now that we have a understanding of what submission is, for those, because we didn't go over the definition,
Yeah,
but
we don't.
I wrote this down. Submission to us means is you're willing to place yourself under the authority of another to accomplish a common goal. I mean, you don't only just see this in marriages, but you see this in companies as well. There's CEOs, there's COOs, and the COO has to listen to the CEO. The managers have to listen to the CEO. So you're basically submitting your power to that person, submitting your authority to that person, but y'all all have one common goal of making the business work.
Right.
It's the same thing with the marriage. Like, y'all have a common goal to make things work, but
Completely agree.
you also continue to have influence on the route in which you take in order to get to that goal. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But now that we have a clear definition of what submission is, you said earlier that you are a very strong-minded woman, right? And I feel like there's a lot of strong-minded women, independent women out there. Now that you know the real definition of submission, would you still have hesitated during our ceremony when Miss Deb told you to submit to me? Now that you have a clear understanding of what submission is, I'm going to give you a two-part question.
It's tough to ask now. In the future, ask her, what would you have done had you known this prior? This is a weird question to ask, especially on camera.
Do you think that the era we're living in now, the modern day women, everybody always preaching them to be independent?
Put a footnote in that. In the modern day woman, everyone's always preaching. Everyone preaching to be independent. I'm sorry, y'all, but I gotta put notes because I want to make sure that I remember exactly that he said that. Everyone is always preaching independence to the modern day women. He said that. So this is gonna completely. Let me let him talk.
To do it on your own. Do you think that plays a role in women not being willing to submit to their
Of course it
husbands?
does.
Okay, so the first part, what I have hesitated. So, like you said, had it been, explained to me the definition of what it is, had we sat down and had a conversation of what that looks like for our relationship. And like you said, the awakening of you realizing what you have to do to submit within our relationship, I wouldn't have hesitated in that sense.
Take that part. I want you to take that part out.
What part?
About me realizing what I needed to do. Like, just on your part. Because a lot of women say, oh, I'll be willing to submit to my man if he does this, that, and the third.
Sure.
But biblically, it tells women to submit to the husband. So I want you to take out that transactional thing from it. Where it's like, okay, if he does this, then I submit. With you knowing the definition, would you have been willing to submit, or would you have hesitated just off of your own actions?
So, I mean, to be completely honest and transparent and knowing the definition, I feel like I would have been more comfortable in one, knowing what that looked like, and two, having the understanding, like you said, the biblical understanding of what it means, right? Because if I'm walking personally within my faith journey and I'm trying to...
He asked a good question. He just didn't... Let me break it down a little bit more. What he wants to know is, irregardless to what I'm doing, irregardless to whether I'm submitting to God or what I'm doing as the man, are you willing to submit to the man? Regardless of whatever else going on, will you submit to your husband? Not just, I will submit to my husband if he's doing this. Will you submit to me regardless of who I'm following or what I'm doing? And she starts getting into all this other stuff and just giving a clear, instead of just giving a clear-cut yes or no. It could be because he didn't break down the question a little bit further and say, you know what, forget about me. Are you going to submit to me regardless? But she starts getting into all this other shit, and I think this is where she gets on her little rant. I remember watching this, and I was like, God damn, let's go ahead and keep playing it.
To follow God and honor his God and his word and everything like that, then for me personally as an individual, I would be willing to take that step and submit, because this is what, you know, God wants. And that's my faith. That's what I believe in. So, of course, I would have no problem in doing it. However, the person within me...
Y'all always throwing out these
No, because it's a realistic thing. Like, the spiritual part of me would be like, okay, this is what I want to do, because this is what I practice, this is my faith, this is what I believe, this is what God is saying that I should be doing. So of course I want to honor God, I want to honor my husband, I want to honor my marriage. So yes, however, like I said, the flesh, sometimes we have a back and forth with the spirit and the flesh. That part of me would be like, okay, the transactional part, well, what does that look like as far as what my husband is doing for me? So it will kind of play like, yeah, you know, it's kind of like what people say, you know, having unconditional love. Like, a lot of times love is conditional to, if this person is loving me a certain type of way and doing this for me, then I would have no problem. But if they're treating me the wrong way, how do I have that unconditional love still?
Right.
So I feel like it will give me the question in my mind of the what if, but I wouldn't have hesitated in the same sense that I did before, not knowing all of that.
That's why I said he didn't explain it right, because she still went back to, you know, my flesh would be like, well, what am I getting in return? He should have specifically stated that, hey, irregardless to what I'm giving you, I don't give a shit if I'm a bum on the street, you know, and I lose my job and I start getting depressed. Will you submit to your husband regardless of what I'm giving you? That's a really good question. I'd love to know the once I broke it down, how she would answer that.
However, I do feel like society, in a sense, has contributed to the idea of women not necessarily feeling comfortable with submitting and feeling like they have to be independent. And I feel like that because not only with society, but like you said, within the household, like a lot of women have seen.
I'm gonna pause it real quick while our trusty department goes by. All right.
Are been taught, raised that they have to take on this independent role, right? They don't have the support necessarily, or they didn't see the support of the man doing or contributing in a certain way, maybe in their household. So it's just like, okay, I have to take on this role as an independent woman. And even if they...
Again, going back to what he said, he says everybody's preaching about independent, and then she brings it back up again that maybe they didn't see these men being strong and, you know, being leaders in the household. So maybe that's why. So all of this shit, people sometimes they end up giving these long-winded answers, and they'll end up getting back around to the point. And a lot of people will get and say exactly what it was. They just don't even know that they really just keep saying the same thing back and forth because he said it, and then she's just talking, and then she said it.
They don't see that. They a lot of women, you know, feel like we have been, you know, kind of placed on the back burner where it's like we had to be in this role of just being the woman, you know, playing the role of a woman.
This brings up a topic for a whole nother day, but I just need to touch on it because they start talking about this whole, you know, a lot of women and this struggle and the hard times that women had to face. Bro, please don't get me started on the hard times women had to face because I don't know what this struggle is that the modern women have had to face. I know what our older generations have had to face coming into slavery and we're fighting for women's rights. But we have those things now. We have women's rights. We have laws protecting women that men don't have. We have things in place that women have that men do not have equally. So to keep giving me this women's struggle and women's rights and women face this stuff, if you're not going to break down exactly what the hell women struggle with and what the hell women had to face that men didn't, then I don't want to hear nothing about this one-sided argument. Because I know plenty of things that men have to face that women don't have to. Specifically with the procreative rights, which is why this whole Roe v. Wade thing is blowing up so big, because women are talking about it's a fight against women because women should have the choice. I agree with y'all. The part where it gets really misconstrued and where they want men to start helping them get these rights back, men don't have that same right. If a woman has a baby, if a woman gets pregnant and she doesn't want the baby, there's about 10,000 ways she can get completely away from this baby without being accountable for nothing. We're not even talking about just in the beginning. We're talking about in the beginning, in the middle, after she has the baby. There's about 10,000 ways in all these steps where she can completely relieve herself of accountability, and there's nothing that happens to her. On the man's side of it, once you get a woman pregnant, you have absolutely no control over anything that happens moving forward. Unless you somehow pay for the court and they decide in your favor that you now get some type of control. You have no control over any of it, and you're held accountable from that day forward no matter what you say or do. That makes no sense. That a woman can have a baby. She can get full term, have the baby, and say, I don't want this baby. Go drop him off to the fire station. All accountability. You're not going to have to pay no child support. You don't pay nothing. You're done. A man does that. You know, I'm here for the baby. Let's go ahead and have it. She has the baby. You know what? I don't want this. Child support for 18 years. Financial. We want all that. We want 30% of your pay for the next 18 years. Same scenario, same people. We can give them the same age, same race, same everything. But if he decides he doesn't want that same responsibility, he's on hook for 18 years. If she decides she doesn't want that responsibility, no problem. See ya. Don't want to hear this one-sided argument unless y'all gonna come and give me the facts.
And which looks like for a lot of times, you know, years ago, just being in the house, taking care of this, that, and the third. So, and the movement of women wanting to come out of that and being independent and saying, you know, I want to be equal. I want to go out and work. I'm entitled to go out and work. I can contribute to the household. I'm just as smart. I'm just as capable. It's like we kind of been programmed in a sense that's the role that we have to be, because it's like it's kind of like fighting for you know your equality in a sense, right? Because it's like, oh well, men have
a few moments later.
I mean, it's obvious men have put down women in a sense, right? They put them in a category where they weren't competent enough to do certain things. Like they had to be placed in this box and do only this, that, and the third based off of what man told them. Not what God told them at the time, but it's like, you have to do this. You can't do this.
And he keeps saying,
You
right.
can't go
I
out
don't know what she's
and
talking
get this
about.
degree. You can't go out and do this type of thing. And
Men didn't tell women that they can't go do these things. What men did back then was they told women that we already have this stuff covered, so there's no need for you to go do these things. Not saying that I agree with them, but that's not what was told. They didn't like the thought of women doing this because they were too concerned with women doing this. They didn't want women to start doing this because that'll start taking away from these things over here. So they said, no, we're not going to allow women to go do these things because we're too concerned about women doing these things. And if nobody's doing these things, then what the hell is happening in our homes while the men are out doing these things? Women said, we want to start doing those things that the men are doing. And the men said, okay, that's fine, but who's going to do that stuff over there? There's only two of us. There's a man and woman. And if we're both over here, then who the hell raising the kids? Who the hell making sure the house good? Who the hell making the meals? So what happened back then, they start having laws. No, we're not allowing women to do this. This is going to ruin all of our homes. And look at us today. Again, I'm not saying go back to the modern times. I'm saying make stuff work, but I think we need to understand what we did. We took away from our home. We took away from our families. We took away from our kids. And we put everybody in this workforce. We put everybody into these careers and jobs. And now we have all these broken homes. Now we have all these single parent households because we were told wrong, and it wasn't by men. In a man-led world, when men had the power, they said, women, y'all do this. Men are going to do this. What happened was the women started coming over and saying, we want to come over here and mess with y'all too. We want to do this. And that's when the shit broke. This wasn't a man problem. This wasn't something that man did. When man ran shit, they said, okay, we do this and y'all do this. And we're not equal. Let's play our roles and let's do our parts. Irregardless of how you feel about it, that's how it was and the shit worked. What's not working is what the fuck we doing now. This shit is not working, and that's why we have so many single parent households. That's why we have people who are getting married that don't even understand what the hell marriage is, or don't even understand what the hell submission is, because we've completely tried to erase that word from the dictionary.
Having that, constantly instilled in you, it's like, no, well, I want to do this. I want to do more. And I mean, we can get deep, to be honest, because I feel like it's kind of like the same thing with cultures and race, where it's like, if people say the black person has been held down for so many generations, they weren't able to rise and do certain things because all the circumstances that been placed on us to not be able to go out and live a certain lifestyle and do certain things and have the certain rights that we're entitled to.
Again, I hate this talk as a fan and as a podcaster. I hate when people ramble on and just talk about things and don't give definition. Stop saying this and that. Stop talking about those rights and this rights. Tell me what the hell you're talking about that the rights that was taken away. This is just me as a fan. A pet peeve of mine. Talk to me and explain. This is literally what we're here for, is to listen.
That now it's just like, no, we're going to fight for this because this is what we feel like is owed to us. This is what we deserve. So it's just like, I feel like in a sense it has been like that with women, where it's just like we've been placed in this box for so long, and it's just like, you're not going to keep me in this box. Like I have more to offer. But
that's fine that you have more to offer. But again, like I said, this is where I would love to have I'm one day, y'all. I'm coming with the dialogue. Make sure y'all like and subscribe right now while I'm thinking about it. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. I would love to be able to have these back and forth talks, because I'm going to ask, what are you talking about? And if you have that to offer, that's fine. But what's going to happen over there? We have roles. Like you said, the definition of submission is we're both submitting to make sure that the relationship works. I have a role. You have a role. If you take away from your role and you started coming over here to my role, that's going to leave things over here that are unfulfilled. Most women don't want man to come over here and start fulfilling those duties, because then he'll become a house husband. Then they'll have to be in the house more. Women don't even want that. So if you're taking away from the household, who's going to replace that? Who's raising our kids? These things are vital. We've taken away from these very important roles that are supposed to build marriages, supposed to build families, supposed to build communities. We've taken away from those and started just throwing people in these jobs. We need these roles back. I'm not trying to be up here and preaching misogyny. What I'm preaching is roles. Now, this is where I say the make it work thing has to come into play, because I don't care who plays what role. If you got a man and the man wants to play that role, listen, I'm not here to judge about who wants to be a house husband and fill those roles, but they need to be filled. Even if we want to do it 50-50 and we start splitting the roles however you want to do it, I don't like the thought of just leaving those roles unfulfilled. Somebody has to do it. So this is where the whole make it work thing comes into play.
In the sense of marriage and seeing that a lot of women haven't seen that. A lot of women haven't seen that support and that structure to be like, no, you have this loving husband who wants to be there to cherish and honor you and wants to, lead you down the right path. They don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. So you are able to feel confident in knowing that I'm going to submit to my husband, and it's not going to be me, submitting and feeling like I made the wrong decision. I feel like if the woman was shown that and had a clear understanding of that and knew, like you said, we did the research and knowing and applying it to our lives, then maybe their perspective on it would change.
Whose responsibility is it to show women what women are supposed to be shown? I can guarantee you it damn sure ain't men. We already have our hands full trying to show men and show boys what boys and men need to be shown. It's not boys and men's responsibility to show women the things that they need to see. This is a responsibility for women. Stop trying to talk about men and women's issues. Women should be teaching women the things that women need to know. Period. Men need to be teaching men the things that men need to know. Period. I do not and will not try to get up here and tell women how to be women. That is not my role. That's not my intention. My intention here is to let you know how men feel about certain situations. This is one of them. This is ridiculous. This is not a man's issue. That is a woman's issue. If they're not seeing husbands in the household, then it is up to women to start showing them husbands in their household. It is not up to men to start just going to be husbands and hoping that the women see these things.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of great points.
No, she didn't.
I think there's a lot of things that contribute to it. Like you said, it's just like women fighting for their rights now because they have been placed in a box, and now they want to show the world what they're capable of doing.
False.
Because a lot of people put them in a box.
No.
But I also think that past trauma plays a part.
Mm-hmm.
Passed down trauma from generation to generation plays a part in women hesitating to submit to the husband. Like let's just say, because a lot of times when you hear women talk, they say, "Oh, my mom or my grandma taught me to be an independent woman."
Again, with the women, my mom and my grandma, I guarantee you don't hear a lot of women saying that their fathers taught them these things. You will hear it. I'm not saying never. Not all. But exactly what he just said. Again, going right back to the everyone's preaching women to be independent. And then he goes right back into the, well, my mom and my grandma taught me these things. So again, we're going right back to women. And we say these things. I told you. Let somebody talk long enough. And they're going to start saying what it really is that they feel. You just let them keep talking. And that's what they both keep doing. They keep talking. And somehow, some way, we keep getting right back on to the real point of the matter, which is the women are the ones that's handing this stuff down. And the women are the ones that are teaching these bad behaviors, which is conflicting with why women aren't submitting in marriages and why they don't even know what submission is.
Mm-hmm. To not need a man. And I ain't questioning nobody's grandma. But what I will say is, why do you think she taught you this?
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in her life, in her relationship, that caused her to teach you this? Was she still married to her husband? Was she hurt about what her husband did to her?
Of course they was.
Did she feel bad about giving her heart to a man and he broke it? So now she's going to teach you to be the woman that she thought she should have been, or that she wished she was, because she had her heart broken. Now she's not teaching you the right way because she don't want you to get hurt the way that she got hurt. Like the crazy thing about love, everybody is always trying to protect themselves, to protect their hearts. They put up these walls, and you don't really let people in. But the crazy thing about love, the beautiful thing about love is that you find somebody that say, you know what, I know there's a chance you might hurt my heart or break my heart, but I'm willing to give you my heart.
Relationships are about risk on both ends. You have to be willing to take a risk. There are no guarantees in relationships. There are no guarantees in love. He made a very good point with that. We all have to take the risk, whether you had your heart breaking once, twice, 10 times. You're going to continue to take a risk because there's always that uncertainty that this person may do it too. And we just got to go out there. This is why that making it work, again, this is why make it work comes into play so much, because there are risks. No one's perfect. So to expect perfection from someone is what really messes with people's minds, because you expect perfection and we understand, and then you don't. You expect perfection and then you don't understand when somebody makes a mistake. Whether it's cheating, whether it's flirting, whether it's stepping out in a relationship, we're not perfect. So people are going to make mistakes. The question is, am I going to mess up my foundation based on that mistake? Am I going to mess up my family based on that mistake? And I know I'm probably going to have some rolling eyes right now. Okay, but what if it happened 1 or 2 times? What if it keeps happening again? Okay, then we start getting into a different degree of, was it a mistake, or is this now a pattern? Is this now something that you're doing because you want to do it? But a lot of women, as she stated earlier, they see that one mistake. You know what, I'm not happy anymore because he made a mistake. I'm not happy anymore because now I found out that he's not perfect. So now I'm ready to screw up everything that we built. I'm ready to wreck the home, wreck the kids based off of that mistake. And that is wrong. That is literally not what you're supposed to do in a marriage. A marriage is supposed to be bigger than, okay, he made a mistake. A marriage is supposed to be, listen, till death do us part, we're going to make this work. Even if we got to sleep in separate rooms, we're going to make this work to raise these kids because we agreed to do this. That's what a marriage is supposed to be about.
Because I trust that you will take care of it, that you will respect me and honor me. And if that's something that doesn't happen, then that's just part of love and relationships. That doesn't mean that you have to get a cold heart and put up a wall and never let nobody else in. You have to detox from that relationship, recharge yourself, recharge your heart, and then go into a new relationship willing to give your heart to somebody that's deserving of it. But I feel like women have been hurt in the past, grandmoms, moms, and then now we're trying to teach our daughter to be so independent that she don't need a man, and then when she meets a man, it's hard to make that relationship work.
2 things have happened. It's not just the scorned or women have been hurt, because men have been hurt too. So that argument completely defeats itself. The second thing that's happened has really made the need for man so obsolete is because we are now living in modern times. We have modernized everything that used to that people used to need man and muscle for. We've made tools to where you don't need strength to use this tool. You can now open a jar without having to have muscles in your arm. You can now reach and grab things off of shelves that you couldn't do back in the day because you were too short. You can now do that without having a tall man in the house. You can open the jar. You can get the light bulb changed. You can get food delivered to your door. You can order security. We don't have so many safety risks as we used to have. So the need for man has gone down because of the modernization of the world. We're living in a first world country. We don't care about the things that's going over in Africa and Afghanistan. We don't have to worry about those things. So the need for man has now died down because there isn't so much a risk that someone's going to come into your home and just start taking stuff, because you can call the police. You can have protection at your door in an instant. You can call the ambulance. You can get help in an instant. So it's a little bit deeper than just, the women have been hurt and they're passing that hurt down, even because we all have been hurt. And that's why I hate these arguments. I try to go one-sided, because that is literally a two-sided argument. We've all been hurt. So what does that mean?
Because you're not willing to pull back a little bit to allow a man to be a man.
Right.
If society is teaching men, you have to be providers.
Whoop. I just told y'all to put a keynote when he said what society is teaching women. Now he just said that society is teaching men that you have to be providers. Put another keynote.
For your family. But then you meet a woman who has everything, and she constantly lets you know, look, I don't need you.
Again, the modernization of times. We used to need a man because we used to need each other to survive. While men were out hunting, women were staying home with the kids and making sure the kids ate and making sure that the cave and the hut was ready when the man came back. We used to need each other to survive. We have now told women, nope, go get jobs, forget your roles and how we made things work. You start taking on man's roles. No one's gonna fulfill the roles that you left behind, and then you're gonna start screaming, well, what do I need a man for? I'm doing these things. What do I need him for?
I'm independent. I can do it on my own. Then where does a man fit into a relationship?
Correct.
Right.
Because now his role is like, well, what is my role now?
Right.
Exactly.
I think that's very true what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense, especially in the sense of a woman saying, I don't need you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like in life, we need that companionship. Like we need that love. There's no way around it whatsoever. Like that is essential part of life, is having that companionship, having that love and interaction and affection for another person.
I'm gonna fix that. It is an essential part of life, because life is about people. Life is about interactions. Life is about like us with each other. Life is not life without interacting with people. Nobody wants to be living in solitude in the mountains their entire lives and never interact with a person ever. We do need each other to survive. But I'm not going to say that we need to be loved in order to live. That's where I kind of draw the line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an independent man.
Right.
I depend on you.
Right. So in saying that,
for instance, this is again where I started talking about that making it work stuff, and I don't believe that they submit. I wish he would have went into a little more detail on how you depend on her, in what ways.
I feel like a lot of people or women have to get out of that mindset of saying, I don't need a man. Like you may feel like, okay, you are independent and you're entitled to feel as independent as you want to be. You can be out here making all the money that you want to make, have the degrees, doing what you need to do, take care of your own, but just saying that you don't need a man can be toxic and harmful to your future relationships, or even.
I don't agree with that, even though I just told y'all I don't, like, I just gave my reason for women not saying that. I don't agree with what she just said. It's not toxic to say you don't need a man. It's true. Again, they're just speaking what they know because they've been told to go do man things. And then they grow up as they're doing man things, working and getting a job and being the head of the household. And then they finally get a man who's coming like, okay, I got a job. I want to be the head of the household. And they're like, no, I don't need you. It's not toxic. It's just how they were raised. It's what you were taught. So you don't know anything else. And it's actually facts. I don't need you because I'm already doing the things that you are coming to the table with. So what the hell do I need you for? Besides to, shoot up the club, give me a baby, and keep it moving. This is how we were raised. So what in reality, what we need to do, I'm not going to get that far. That's a whole nother subject. That's going to take a while to explain. I don't want to get into what we need to do to change that. But I will say that is the reason that it's like that. And it's not toxic. It's not bad to have that mindset because it's true. I think we just need to get back to playing our roles and realizing what else needs to be done besides just working. And if one party wants to work, then the other party needs to be taking care of the house.
In your current relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you said, you want to know that that person needs you.
Yeah.
Whether you're saying, oh, I don't need you financially. I don't need you to support me because I can help contribute too. Like, it's great that you can be able to contribute your own, but just saying that, oh, I don't need you is very harmful to your relationship because we need each other. Like
And
that's
then if you take that mindset into
You have to create a space for yourself, as I just said. It's not about I need a woman. If I'm doing all the womanly duties in my life and a woman comes along and says, hey, I do womanly duties, and I'm like, I don't need that. What I need is this. I explain this all the time when people are asking me, like, well, what type of man, what type of woman makes a husband, and what makes a wife, and what makes a husband. You got to figure out what you want, and then you got to figure out what you want if they want what you have. And that's what's going to make it work. If I want a woman, if I'm a businessman and all I want to do is work, and I'm a businessman and I need and want a woman to come into my life to literally just take care of home. I take care of all this and she takes care of home. If she comes in and all she does is work, then I don't need you. That's facts. What I need is this. And if you're not providing this, then I don't need you. That's not toxic to say that. That's true. So what you have to do as a woman, if you're in that predicament where you're work, and you got a man that work, and he says, I don't need that, I need this, you have to decide. Either I'm going to take a back seat to what I'm doing and let him do it and I'll do this, or I'm going to keep doing this and find another man who's not doing the work, and he wants to do this. It's all about wants and needs. You got to figure out what you want and what you need in your life, and then you got to figure out how you're going to find a spouse that fits into what you want and need. There is no point to have two people doing the same thing because I don't need that. That's not toxic to say.
To a relationship, how much of yourself are you really giving a person?
right.
If any minute you can walk away because you like, you know what, I don't need this person.
Right.
Like I can do this all by myself. It doesn't really increase your chances of having a successful relationship. And to touch on, passing down trauma again, because I talk about women passing it on to girls who then grow up and believe that the goal should be to be independent and not need a man. Women who has also been hurt in the past, who have sons, who are raising sons. They try to mold them into the man that they wanted to have.
Again, this is like the 15th example of them going back to women doing these things. These are not my examples. These are theirs. And again, we're going right back to women teaching this stuff because 80% of our children are being raised in single-parent households. And those are not men single-parent households. These are women-led single-parent households. So we have to put accountability not on the 20% or not on the men that aren't in those 80% households because they're not the one raising the children. The women are. So we have to place accountability. We have to place accountability where it needs to be placed.
Right.
If we got a bunch of children being raised in single mom households, and then we got a bunch of kids coming out not knowing what submission is and not knowing how to play their roles and not knowing how to be women and not knowing how to be men, and they're all raised by women, then how the hell are we blaming men?
So then I believe that women sometimes raise a weak man. And for those who are not watching this, I'm putting this in air quotes because when I say a weak man, I'm not talking about in the sense of being tough or being strong. But what I'm saying is that you don't teach a man how to handle his responsibilities. Right. So then when he gets into a relationship with the woman, he doesn't know how to properly lead. And for a woman who's looking to be led, he doesn't have the skills to do that. Because his mom may have taught him, look, you don't need to do all that. Like strong, independent women, they will run the household. So then he gets walked all over by women who are independent, or he doesn't know how to lead by women who are expecting a man to know how to lead. So it causes an issue. And then there's men out there who downright just don't know how to lead. It has nothing to do with the passed down trauma from their mom or grandmom. But there's a lot of men who expect to have the kingdom without the responsibilities. they expect the woman to just submit to them or to allow them to lead, and they have no leadership qualifications.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be.
Of course not.
Like we have to learn how to be leaders so that when we are
I speak to somebody all the time, and they're always asking me questions whenever I make statements like that. And I just thought about that person right now because I want to know, okay, what does a leader look like? What is a leader? If you're going to talk about real men leading and real men doing these things, I need you to be able to explain what being a leader looks like, what leading is.
in relationship, our women are confident that we can lead them down the right path. And I think there are a lot of men who are great leaders, but there are some men, probably a majority of men, who honestly don't know how to lead.
What is that? What does that look like?
And they just want the title without the responsibility.
What is a leader? What is that? I'm going to give you my definition of a leader because I thought about that question as he was speaking about it. A leader in a household is someone who's able to make decisions for the benefit of the household and remove all emotion from that decision. If that decision means that I have to cut off my leg to save my arm or to save my head, then I have to make that decision without being like, oh my God, this leg been with me for 30 plus years. I don't want to cut off my leg. It's sentimental. But if you don't cut off the leg, then the whole body's going to shut down. So what do? Do you cut it off to save the head, or do you just leave it for sentimental value because you're being emotional? A leader is able to make that decision for the benefit of the body and the household. A leader in a relationship is able to make decisions for the benefit of the relationship to make sure that this relationship goes good. So again, what happens is why women should submit to men, because if you want a man who's going to lead, then you should be submitting to the leader and letting him make decisions to the benefit of the relationship.
So therefore, women are hesitant to do that. So I feel like there's work that needs to be done on both ends.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I feel like I agree with that, and I feel like you said, the importance of what you said is just them having the clear understanding of what that leadership is, and having the guided understanding, like someone actually guided them and gave them the perspective of what that looks like.
Right.
And it was the honest truth of what that looks like, because like you said, just as much as they could be influenced from their mother, they can be influenced from their father. Maybe their father wasn't that great of a leader in his household, but your upbringing and what you're taught is what you most times turn out to be.
Of course, but like I said, if 80% of our children are being raised in single parent households, not single father-led households, single mother-led households, then it's really a small minority to sit here and speak about that 20% that are not even the 20%, because that's the ones that's raised in the double households. I don't even know the number that's led in single father households. That number is probably about 3%. It's probably lower than that. I don't know for a fact. I'm just throwing out a number, but I know it's not high. It can't be if 80% is being raised by single moms, and then the other percent we have to split between the mom and the dad, and then just dad. It's very low. So to speak about the minority is really it really doesn't prove a point.
So what that leadership looks like and that role looks like to him, maybe if he's seen it from a father, or maybe he didn't have a father, or whoever may have shown him that, may not be necessarily the right idea of what it should be like for your woman to want to submit to you. So I feel like having that clear guidance from the right person, the right source, to be able to show you, like, you know what, this is what this looks like. And this is the role that you have to play in order for your woman to feel comfortable and confident in your relationship and your marriage, to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do.
I also want to clarify what you just said, though, because you were talking about submission. You said whether you submit in your relationship.
Well, no, that's why I corrected myself, because I don't feel like it comes with marriage. That's why I said in your relationship, but then I follow with marriage, because like I said, it takes that role of submitting when you go into your marriage. I'm not for playing the role of a wife before you get the title.
See, again, we got to disagree. She's not for playing the role of a wife before you get the title. How do I know what the hell a wife or a husband even is if we're not gonna start creating that environment before we agree to get married? Why would I go into this blind? Why wouldn't you be trying to be as wifely as possible and trying to be a husband before you get married and have the official title? Why wouldn't you see what that looks like before we go ahead and make it official and sign a lifelong contract in hopes that you will become this after we sign the contract? That makes no sense. That we're both going to wait until after we've made the ultimate pact to then start acting a completely different way than what the hell we're supposed to be.
Actual ring, the actual certificate, or playing the role of a husband. You can prepare. The preparation is amazing. It's great. But playing that actual role comes with the actual, commitment to say, this is what I'm about to do. This is what we're doing. Not even about this is what we're doing. As we're walking into that role, that title of being husband and wife, not before boyfriend and girlfriend. So yeah.
But I think that it's a touchy subject for a lot of people because I think that so many people are not knowledgeable on what it means to submit. And I'm not saying it's your fault because it's something that a lot of people are not taught growing up. But when you get of certain age, it's your job to go out there and educate yourself. Like if you want to have a strong and healthy marriage, you can't keep saying, "Oh, I didn't see one when I was growing up, so I don't know how to have one." No, you go learn. Like if something's important to you, you'll put in the work to go learn.
How?
You can't say, "Oh, I never had a dad growing up, so I don't know how to be a dad." No, learn.
How?
Like be what you always wanted growing up. Like we gotta stop using excuses of not seeing things when we were growing up as a way to be terrible husbands and fathers. Like it's just not okay. Like at some point you have to take responsibility and say, look, I'm old enough to know better and do better. And I think it's very important for us as men to understand our role as men, as the head of the household. Stop demanding the title and not willing to take on the responsibilities.
I agree, but it's
unfair.
You gotta say how. Though.
If you are incapable of leading, don't get into a relationship until you find out how to lead.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree. What do you mean? If you're incapable of leading, don't get into a relationship. Again, now we're just going to throw accountability in the men. It makes no sense. How do you become a leader? Again, what is a leader? He should have said this. I said my definition of a leader, and I understand that as men, that leaders are built over time and experience. This is one of the reasons why they say that older men should be the ones worried about marriage, because it's tough to gain the traits to become a husband when you're young, because most of us don't understand these things and we don't have the emotional capacity or the intelligence to become these leaders that we so-called, that people are telling us to be. Even while telling people to go and lead and to learn these things, he's not telling us how or what to look for or what they even are. And that makes no sense.
If you're incapable of leading, don't have children until you learn how to lead. Because these are two very important roles that we play in a household. And if you don't know how to do these things properly, you can damage the people who are trusting you to lead them. It's not fair.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work that we have to do. And I took a note because I wanted to really hit home on this for men. Because like I said, society preaches to women all the time about how they need to submit to their husbands. But rarely do you hear people tell husbands how they're supposed to submit to God. So I took a note that I wanted to say to my men out there.
Because Either way, it has to be done. You should be submitting to your husband, irregardless to whether he's submitting to God or not. I'm not saying that makes it right. I'm not saying that gives you a reason for men to not do their job, but you have to do your job irregardless of what your man is doing. And this is what makes a marriage work, because I can't stop playing my role just because he's not playing his. If anything, I need to boost my role and do my role even more if my partner starts to slack. This is the point of marriage. It's not to wait until, like he said, he told his wife earlier, don't, give me the transactional answer. I want to know that you're going to do your job regardless of what is happening on this side.
It says God wants men to act, portray, and live like the Lord. And only when a man does so should the woman submit. Husbands must love their wives like Christ loved the church. Jesus laid his life down for the church, and husbands should do the same, or else you shouldn't expect your wives to submit. Laying down your life doesn't mean to die for your wife, because that happens in the moment. In one split moment, and most people are not jumping in front of a car to save their wife. The chances of that happening is pretty slim. But it says when you lay down your life for your wife, you must deny yourself the personal gratifications and the personal satisfaction in things that are of a selfish nature to you. So laying down your wife doesn't mean jumping in front of a bullet, because you probably won't have to do that in your life.
Okay.
It doesn't mean jumping in front of a bus, because you probably won't have to do that in life. But it's about living for your wife, living for your family, sacrificing the things that bring you pleasure that may be hurting your wife. For example, if following certain women on Instagram was bringing me pleasure, and my wife said, look, I don't want you following those type of women on Instagram. It's my job to sacrifice doing that because it only brought me self-gratification for my wife.
I don't agree with that. Again, marriage, roles. My role is not happiness. My role is making sure you're taken care of. Now we can get to the happiness and the being content, later on down the line, but I don't agree that just because your wife is a little unhappy with the behavior that's not hurting the household, that's not hurting the family, that's not hurting the relationship, it's only hurting her feelings. I don't agree that should then is something that you have to change. People are going to be people. We are not perfect, but what you have to worry about is the bigger picture. Is this hurting my relationship? No. Is it giving my husband a little instant relief? Possibly. Is it hurting my feelings? Sure. But is it hurting the kids? No. Is he still a good father? Yes. Is he still a good husband? Yes. Is he out here cheating? No. So what the hell are we talking about?
If I love going out and hanging out with my friends all the time, and my wife says, hey, I wish you could be home more so we can spend time together, then I need to sacrifice all the time that I'm spending with my boys to be there for my wife.
False. Again, this is this dumbass misconception that you are solely responsible for the happiness of your wife. You are solely responsible to make sure that your wife is provided for, is protected, and has the room and ability to grow and do her role. You hanging out with your friends, if it's not impeding her role, then that doesn't mean stop completely because she doesn't like it. Your role is not to make sure that your wife is completely happy. Your role is to make sure that your wife is taken care of. Do not mix the two. And I hate people like this that just automatically jump over to one side of it, because that's not your role as a husband.
If I love going to the casino, I'm trying to hit every different aspect. If I love going to the casino, and my wife says, hey, this is really messing us up financially. You're never home to help me with the kids. We don't get to spend time together. I need to sacrifice my desire to go to the casino for the betterment of my relationship.
That is true. Now we're talking about the betterment of relationship and not just the betterment of her. If it comes to the betterment of the household, if you're messing up the household by going out and spending these funds that are supposed to be spent on toilet tissue and the kids, and you're spending it on gambling, then we have a problem. Then that is her role to address that situation and make him know, hey, hubby, you're supposed to be taking care of this, and I'm supposed to be taking care of this, but you're not taking care of this because you're too busy out there gambling. If you can do your role, and then you might just have a little pastime in the meantime, then by all means, sometimes we need that. But if it's interfering with the household, if it's interfering with the relationship, then we do need to call it out. Then we do need to stop.
That's what laying down your life for your wife means. Sacrificing the things that you love doing that is hurting her.
No.
That's how you submit.
No. Submit to who? So you submit to who? This dude, man. I thought this was about submitting to God, not submitting to your wife. And this is where I started getting. I remember listening to this and I'm like, what? What are you? Now you done went way off topic, because this is the way his household works. And this is the way that things work with him. This is the way he made it work. And he's making it like everyone has to do these things in order to make their relationships work. And that's not the case. You need to make it work however you make it work, as long as it's in the benefit of the relationship and the marriage. I don't like these fits all arguments where you have to do these things that supposedly fits all because he did it. I don't agree with the things he's saying. I don't.
Out there, if a man is telling you to do something that is not of God, then of course you don't submit to that man. Because at the end of the day, before you honor your husband, you honor God. And if he is telling you to do certain things that don't honor God, then that's not a.
As a Christian, women have to submit to the God in the man. You don't submit to the man based on your understanding of God. You should be submitting. If you decided to marry that man, then you submit to that man and you submit to his role. Questioning, this is going to be tough because it's going to kind of conflict, but you shouldn't be questioning whether or not your man is, I can't say that. You should question whether or not your man is following God. But you cannot continuously question whether or not he's making decisions based on him following God. I don't like the way he worded that, so I'm trying to reword it on the fly, but it's really tough because I don't want to give the wrong piece of information. So I'm watching how I say it. I'm going to just let him talk a little bit more.
A man that you should submit to.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing I had to say on that.
Yeah. So I feel like this topic, like you said, is a very sensitive topic. But I hope that this podcast has just shed some light to what it.
I think they're done. I don't think this is a sensitive topic. I think it's a real easy topic. I think you should. They never asked the question, by the way. They never got to should you submit to a man? Should a wife submit to a man? Of course she should. I don't think it's a sensitive topic. I think it's really blunt and clear. I think the reason we've gotten away from that is because people won't talk about it, and that's what made it sensitive, because people won't give a clear-cut answer on what you should be doing. And you should be doing that, and you should be trying to make the household work. I don't like a lot of the points and views, and I'll make sure I tag them. We can have a conversation. I hope maybe we can sit down and actually have a talk and go back and forth on some of these ideas, because I am a Christian as well. I don't agree with all the things that they said, but I do agree with a lot of the things that they said as well. Questions, comments, concerns. Make sure y'all go ahead and like the video. Make sure y'all comment down below. Make sure y'all contribute to the channel. Help us grow. Make sure we get your boy an intro. We're trying to get back on there. We just gotta get the money up. Make sure y'all write me. I am gonna be starting doing the consultations again. So you can now hit me up. A lot of people have been sending me messages on Instagram. That's not really a good place to try to reach me. I have changed it in all my links so that you can now email me. Push comes to shove, I will start checking my Instagram, but not my personal Instagram. I want you all to reach out to the business Instagram, which is the Larry Legend Speaks Instagram. That is where all the business will come. If you message my personal one, a lot of them are getting lost in a request, and I never check the request, so that's why I don't see a lot of the messages. If you want to reach me, you have to go through the proper channels, follow all my links. I will show it below. I'm glad that we had this talk today. I'm glad to be back. We'll try to start bringing these videos more consistently. And of course, as always, remember over here, we argue facts, not emotions. I'm out.